What's up, everybody? This is the People Man Talks podcast, and I'm your host, Emanuel Solomon, the People Man with Emanuel Solomon Training and Coaching. I'm an interpersonal skills coach who helps high-performing professionals of color to promote and reposition with power through increasing their cultural, emotional intelligence. I have a passion for working with people of color and helping them reach their greatest potential while dismantling systems of whiteness that render people of color paralyzed, neutralized, and mesmerized in the process. If you want to contact me, go to EmanuelSolomon.com to get all my information, content, resources. Contact me there at EmanuelSolomon.com, or you can go to EmanuelSolomon.com and get your free training. This is a free gift, free for professionals of color and advocates of color who are looking to promote and reposition with power interpersonal skills training. So go to EmanuelSolomon.com and get your free training. Go check that out at EmanuelSolomon.com. This is the People Man Talks podcast, and I have a special guest with me today by the name of DJO.G.ONE. Okay, the official DJ of the Portland Trailblazers. Over 20 years of DJ experience. Has hosted several celebrity parties with some of the most prestigious celebrities. Some by the name of Michael Jordan, Damian Lillard, Jay-Z, just to name a few. He's an entrepreneur and CEO of Leadertainment, coaching folks in the entertainment and music industry. Again, the official DJ of the Portland Trailblazers. Please welcome DJO.G.ONE to the People Man Talks podcast.
Which goes back to what we originally was talking about in terms of how you deal with people. And so many of those experiences have open opportunities because people have gone and said, hey, this guy right here, over and beyond my skill, because it wasn't really about my skill, even though my skill is good. But I'd be lying to you if I told you that they hired me because I was the dopest DJ. It wasn't because there's a lot of DJs in Portland that are dope, like from a technical standpoint, are amazing. But most of those referrals I got, it was because of what came with me over and beyond my skill.
The relationship level.
Reputation.
They liked working with you. They knew what they were gonna get. Your relationship level, your ability to connect with them, probably tell them what they can expect. All these different things, man. Tell me some of these habits. What were some of the habits that you had to establish to create the level of success that you were at that time?
Well, one, my lifestyle, I had to make sure that if anybody hired me, they wouldn't be able to pull back and say, I'd like to work with him. He's a nice guy, but his brand is not kind of like, I wouldn't risk my brand association with him. So I had to live in such a way where even professionally, like, I can make money. Like I get offered, people want me to go DJ in strip clubs and things that are really wild out, and I can make a lot of money in those things, but that's not my brand. And even though I can make money, I had to think of the bigger picture. Would Nike want to hire me as a DJ if my reputation was known as DJing at the strip club?
Right.
You see what I mean?
So you had to say no to some things.
I had to say no to a lot of things, and integrity was a big issue. It's like, all money ain't good money. You see what I mean? And all exposure ain't good exposure, whether people believe that or not. And so I had to sacrifice certain opportunities for the bigger picture of what I wanted my brand to be. I had to make sure that my lifestyle was consistent with it. I had to make sure habit-wise, show up on time, give Yeah, give people more than what they paid for. I'd rather people feel like they got over on me than I got over on them.
So almost like over deliver. I've heard that a lot. Like, so showing up on time, over deliver. But what about your crack? I want to go into two sections, which is the talent piece and the relationship piece. So in the talent piece, you obviously had to be able to scratch and be able to mix and all these things. So
Right.
I mean, how much time? What type of time was dedicated to that on a
Yeah,
regular basis?
I had to become a student of the game, because even when I DJ'd the Run DMC concert, I knew how to play good music. So I've always known how to pick good music, and that got me over for a while. But
Okay.
I had to become a student of the game. I had to go study, like mixing. I had to, and shout out to my guy, DJ Reckless, my man DJO.G.ONE. DJ Reckless was a young guy I met early, because he was dating one of my sister-in-laws, and but I heard he was a DJ at a mixer, so I would watch this dude mix, and I would watch him. I just show up places where he was spinning, and I would just watch him. I would go over his house and watch him mix, and just take in stuff, go back and practice hours and hours and hours and hours of practicing. So once I got my skill level up with that, and I was practicing, then I had to make a different separation, because I had to think, okay, well, if I want to get in some of the bigger markets, what is it that I need to know? And so I had to start going and reading books, everything you need to know about the music business. I had to go get books surrounding DJing, like what are some of the how do I set up a DJ business? So it separates me from just a bunch of DJs that are talented, but they won't be taken serious, because they're not looked at as a business as opposed to just a talent. And so so I learned early. I got my business established, registered, OG Productions, got that set, got my my federal tax ID number, and
That
I was
being,
set.
yeah. But the thing is, what I'm hearing, and I want my audience to know, is that you had to develop yourself personally and professionally, even to be on these stages. And
Absolutely.
so that means hours of perfecting your skill. That means hours of reading books and mentoring under people who have done it better than you. I'm assuming financial investment on some level.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I tell DJ, like I get a lot of times people ask me about, can I teach them to DJ? And I'm just like, sure. Okay, when can we start? I said, go buy you some turntables or whatever you want to use to DJ, and then get back at me. And then I get this like deer in the headlight look. Like, I thought you was going to show me on yours. And I'm like, well, why would I show you on mine? Where are you going to go practice at?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going to go do? You're not going to take my equipment to go practice, or take my equipment to go do your gig. You have to get your own, because that process of having to either save your money, having to go buy subscriptions to, back then it was go to the record store and buy your records.
Mm-hmm.
Hours. I spent 10 hours in record stores, just going, finding the records, just the records, not even practicing, spending hours a week going through finding records. Some of that stuff created a certain mentality. Like, you don't go spend 10 hours just to be playing.
Right.
Once I got a taste of my first payment for DJing, I was like, what? I can get this for playing music? Oh man, it was like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right, I can do this. And so, my mindset had always been community, and using my talent and my service in the community to provide for me and my family.
Well, look, you invested in you first, though. That's the thing that I really want to convey. to the audience and to others who are listening is the fact that, look, there's a price of entry. You know, there's a price of entry into anything that you want to do of greatness. And if you're not willing to invest in you, why should somebody else invest in you? So financially is one of the first areas that like, for me, I spend lots of money on myself, on books, on coaching, on getting around certain events, going to seminars, doing all these different types of things to develop myself so that I can provide a service to folks, because this is what I'm serious about. And I think a lot of people, they're not that serious yet, and I think that first, when you start putting money into what you do, I think that's really where like, I'm serious. Books, reading, you're serious, but really when you take that money investment, that's where it's like, oh shoot, like this is the money is actually, like, if you correlate money to time in life, right? Like, because your money, the way how you made it was you invested some time to create some capital to be able to do whatever it is. So it's your life. It's part of your life that you just gave away in order to get something else. So that's the price of entry for, if you want to be a high performing professional of color, and you want to promote, you want to change your life, you have to invest in yourself, mentally, financially. Every single area of your life has to start going into your next level and your next advancement. I'm glad you said that, man, because it's like, you can't play around with this. If you're not serious about, if you're not gonna buy no turntable, don't come and ask me for no advice, man. I'm not serious.
I give you a perfect example of what you're saying. Just a perfect example. Like, most people that follow me know that I'm into sneakers. Like, I love sneakers, and so I've had a collection of at least a few thousand pairs of sneakers, Jordan and Nike. Majority, probably 98% of my collection has been that. And so people were like, they see me pull up at some of the schools, and I'm giving away hundreds of pairs of shoes of Nike. I mean, stuff that are collectors. I'm giving them away, and people are like, well, why are you giving these shoes away? Why are you giving away? And I was like, well, I get them for free. I get them for free. What? I'm like, yeah, I get them for free. So I don't need to hold on to all these shoes. I just don't have enough room for it. Now think about the mindset I had in that versus someone who would have bought all of them shoes. Would I have done that if I had bought all of those shoes? No.
No.
I wouldn't have did that. I probably would have had, hey man, y'all want to buy some shoes? I gave literally thousands of pairs of shoes away in my own personal collection because I didn't have it wasn't of same value to me as someone that bought them. Mm-hmm. Now, if you would ask me about my music or DJ equipment, oh no, absolutely not. Mm-hmm. Because I invested in those things, and so
right.
I always tell people, hey, if you're willing to pay for it, same thing with the leadertainment. Everything I do, if you're willing to pay for it, then that makes me begin to think that you might be serious.
There's life invested in those things, man. It's like you're giving your life. Parts of your life is invested in that, and so, man, I think it was Warren Buffett said the greatest investment that you can make is the investment in yourself. And when you're talking about personal and professional development, I talk about the same things with my clients, and it's like your success is determined on you. And it's like how much can you develop? How much can you change? How much can you grow? And so I've noticed that a lot of folks, they really want to shy away from the internal piece, and they just want the external. They want the big stuff, but they don't want to do anything internally to change that because it's harder. It's painful. Growth is painful. Yeah. And so, with you, I felt like your people skills have been one of the things that has separated you, and how I kind of separate, I talk about cultural emotional intelligence, and that intersection between um, cultural ethnicity and emotional intelligence. And these are just really knowing yourself, knowing who you are culturally, knowing who you are um, uh, in relation to your social environment, but also being able to connect with others through that same lens.
Right.
Why? I mean, what people skills? What skills did you have to develop in order to navigate in your career?
Ooh, well, definitely I had to develop my communication skills, but most of that came from really an early age for me, because particularly when I was in church, I was a lot of time responsible for overseeing watching kids. Like when I say kids, like 40, 50 kids, and having to be able to communicate effectively with kids at a young age. And so I've had a lot of practice in goofball decisions in relation to communication, where by the time I became an adult, I, without kind of like we were talking about earlier, I didn't really have to think about how to properly communicate with people. I think as I got older, it was more or less being intentional on uh, the listening part of it, effective listening.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of the things that I had to learn in, like, being able to listen effectively, intentionally, and listen for the things that people are not saying, as opposed to people are saying face value. And as I started doing that, uh, it really kind of simultaneously made me start thinking about just my own self. What are the things that I'm communicating that I'm not verbally communicating, but my actions are communicating it?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
can say one thing, but my true belief is coming out in my actions. So being able to kind of have a laser focus on me, what is it about you? Are you effectively communicating who you are? Are you in tune with who you are? As a Black man, what are you paying attention to? And I say all the time, I'm unapologetically Black.
Yes.
And
Amen to that. Because we really have to. I think it's so important to keep our culture and our identity as we advance. I feel like that if we substitute that, we've lost a part of who we are.
right,
So how have you been able to kind of keep who you are, and within environment? I'm not sure if you dealt with a lot of racism or not. I know that but talk about how you've been able to kind of navigate, um, and also keep who you are, keep
yeah.
DJ.
Yeah, I think again, it's just dealing with what is, and understanding what you can control and what you can't control. I know that racism, and I've dealt with racism in straight up in my face, the up in front of your face, and the
Okay.
subtle stuff. Um, but I had to again understand the value of me as a Black man. I had to be very clear that I am valued. And it took me a while to get there because, our society is set up that, Black men are not really valued, not even in our own community. You know,
Mm.
I grew up in a household, and love my mom, and we're good. But I grew up in a space where it was like, you're not going to be like your dad. My daddy was a Black man. You're not going to be like him. You're not going to be all. And then you go up in a Black neighborhood where you say, oh, they ain't no good. They're going to always do this. And so, having to grow up with that, you already know what outside of your community is.
Right.
When you I was more affected by the internal belief system within our community, where it didn't matter what I did, I would be considered no good to our own women.
Mm.
And I walked around with that for a while. And I think it's still at times I still get irritated when I run into the blanket statement from some of our sisters that, y'all black men or black men. And I'm just like, but man, what about me? I'm like, yeah, you might have bad experience, but I'm taking care of my kids. I ain't cheating on my wife, but I might as well, because in terms of their eyes, because I'm lumped in with everything. But again, I had to come out of that mindset and say, okay, well, I can't control whatever stereotypes are out there. I can't control other people's opinion. I can, however, control my behavior and my approach and how I walk. So let's focus on the things that I can control and represent what I feel black men are supposed to be, and not worry about what I can't control. I don't need to be ashamed of my blackness as a man in any arena. And I think what gives me some of that leverage is that I position myself where I don't have to have some of those attachments to associations where you feel like you have to change in order to adapt, financially even. It's like, okay, well,
Can I say something about that? Because it's almost like you have autonomy. You already know how to make money. You already know how to create. With that understanding and with that power, it creates confidence, and you don't have to settle for things.
Right.
A lot of times I think people, because they don't have that confidence that they can create something out of nothing, they feel like they have to be dependent on different institutions, and many of them are predominantly white, and so they're looking to whiteness as their as their authority and as their bread, and so they don't feel like they can be themselves and still do the job, or either they feel like they have to conform. And I feel like the fact that you have that, you've been able to have autonomy and be able to create something from nothing, it gives you so much power and so much decision-making capability that you wouldn't have had if you had to settle for whatever opportunity came your way. So that's huge to me.
Yeah, and again, it comes back down to, again, those core values. Mine just happen to, again, be centered on my belief in God, as well as the gifts and talents that He's given me. And so, I've been in situations where I've had to walk away from, a lot of money, just on principle of, I remember a situation where basically I was told to dismantle a particular part of a company, which was going to lay off and fire a bunch of people that look like me. But they said, but we'll keep you for $50,000. We'll keep you. We want you to stay on and continue to develop some things for us. And I said, I can't do that. And they said, why? I said, because I can't go look them in the face and say, you lost your job, but I have one still. That's $50,000. But the only way I was in, and I didn't have a backup. I was like, okay, man, I get my 2-week check and I'm out. But I felt better understanding that, again, I can look God in the face and say, I did right by these people. Not just like, okay, yeah, y'all go ahead and figure it out. So I was willing to walk away from that situation that would have been, to my advantage to keep. Not only for me, my family and everything, but I walked away from that just on that principle. And I don't know, I think that right there is the thing that's missing with our society, is that we so bent on the bag that we would throw out all principle. And I'm talking about, I don't care what color you are, that, our people have gotten into that whole bag thing, man. Okay, we all want the bag. We all want the bag, so it ain't about not wanting the bag. But it's like, would you rather be right and rich or righteous? And some people,
Well,
yeah,
you
I'd
can
like
get
to have
both.
both.
You can have both too, though.
You
Tell
can, you
yeah,
can't
give an
have
example
both.
of that.
And you can't have both. But when you put in a position where you have to choose whether or not to be righteous, but you got
Right,
the bag, I'm like, you can go
right,
have that because I can always get the bag
right.
and always be righteous, by people, and people walk away and feel like that person did righteous by me. So I have long-term relationships that I've reaped the fruits of today. So here's again, to give an example. I always give an example. Me walking away from that 50,000 then and having to go and get public assistance in order to feed my family. I went from making, close to $80,000 a year to zero. Had to get on public assistance.
Mm-hmm.
Years later, that one of the people that was affected by that walkaway turned around and gave me land in Africa.
Wow.
Parents.
Wow. 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 That's deep, man.
You see what I mean?
That's really deep.
I watch God do that with me, man, with many relationships, man, that I have, in this city, across the country, man, where things I didn't expect, and it looked like I lost in a lot of situations where I looked up and I've gained because I did right by people. You know what I
Yeah, the
mean?
value system, and you stuck to it even when times got tough, and a lot of us, a lot of people in general don't stick to that. But
Yeah.
I think it's more important for Black folks and brown folks, especially in relation to these different systems of white supremacy that try to divide us, that we have to have some value, because I really feel like our value isn't individually. It's as a collective. It's as a community. It's as a culture. I was just talking to a friend about this. I was like, we talk a lot about, protesting for our rights. And I know that a big reason that people do that is because they looked at MLK and they looked at, some of the civil rights leaders and how they use protesting. But one thing that they fail to recognize is that the reason why their protesting efforts worked was because they were unified. They had, Black people back then had a deep sense of unity, to where, like, hey, I will literally take I will literally walk 5, 6, 7, 10 miles to help my people.
And get beat up. And you're absolutely right. It's kind of like we were talking earlier. If you're not willing to pay the price, you can't complain about not getting the results. And as a community, we've gotten soft because we aren't willing to put skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we're not willing to put skin in the game, whether it's personally or community or professionally. A lot of people aren't willing to put the skin in the game. They want to jump the step and get the result.
Right.
And the accolades and all that kind of stuff. They're not willing to be the person in the back with the broom that nobody's know is cleaning up the toilets and all that kind of stuff, but is a part of the movement. Everybody wants to be the front person. And I've always been of the mindset, y'all can be out there. Y'all go ahead and do all that. Give me the brush and I'll clean the toilets if it's helping the movement out there.
Right.
So let me be the person that's hands-on and shit. I don't have to be at the rally. Y'all can go speak and do all that stuff. Do all that, but let me be the person that's actually walking up and talking to the kid that's on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Let me be that person.
Sacrifice. And so what I was saying is, within that, we skip steps. We don't want to sacrifice, but we'll protest. But ask one of those people at the protest if they would give you $50 if your life depended on it, and many of them wouldn't. They're united. A lot of us are united through anger, or we're united through frustration.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that would hold us together. But there's not a deep unity that extends beyond that. And I feel like that's the area that needs to happen for for Black folks first, for me, you know, people of color as well, but speaking from a Black perspective, we have to start having that as a cultural standard. Like you may not believe the same things that I believe. You may not have the same faith. You may not have the same whatever, but we have to be able to sacrifice for our people and for our culture, or else we're not going to have anything to negotiate with.
And the thing is that comes back down again to value. You went deep. You just went deep, bro. You just went deep because people sacrifice for things that they value. People, that's the bottom line. People sacrifice for things that they value. You don't have to be philosophically solid for a mother. If her child is in danger and she has to protect it, she don't have to go to a workshop or a class or have a philosophical deep discussion
right
and to save her child.
Mm-hmm.
Because the value, it makes you do things that just totally don't make sense because you value things. With us, you know, again, I'm talking about our people, man, is that we sacrifice for the things we value. And I always watch for that. Okay, after the talking is done, after all of that is done, what is the action that follows? What is the action that follows? You know, we can talk about Black businesses. You know, we should be supporting Black businesses. We should value our sisters. We should, you know, raise our kids a particular way. We can say all those things that we know is right. No, and we can all agree on verbally, but then our actions show different. And so like one of my pet peeves right now, and I'm just gonna put it out there. One of my pet peeves is that, you know, I grew up in LA and where police brutality was just an absolute norm. I've been harassed by police. I've had guns pulled out to my head with police as a kid.
Wow.
So I'm very aware of those things. I've had police take, you know, friends and partners of mine, take them to rival gang neighborhoods and drop them off. Take them behind grocery stores and beat up. So I'm very clear on how police brutality can be. As I got older and got involved in the community, I started really, again, taking that flashlight and looking at myself and say, okay, how do I really want to make an impact? Do I really want to? And am I willing to sacrifice to the level that it takes to make the impact? Am I really? And so if I'm willing to march on the wrongness of a police officer, and I'm willing to gather all the troops up and we're going to go and rally in front of the police station to the point where we'll get arrested if necessary. If I'm willing to do that, why I can't do that when I know Ray shot Mark down the street and I'm not, and he ain't get arrested because nobody said nothing. Am I willing to rally the neighborhood and go stand in front of Mark's house, or Ray's house and say, hey man, you know you did wrong. We gonna hold you accountable. If I'm not willing to do that, I can't hold the police accountable. Nobody wants to have that conversation. We want to keep codes and we want to give an excuse over here. Well, we ain't giving them no excuse over here. That's where the power to me lacks, is that we gotta get to the point where we value each other more than these systems that have been created to decide whether or not we're of a value or not. Until we're able to do that, man, we're not going to be really effective, whether it's in business, whether it's in community policy, none of those things, man. None of those things. And so that's where I'm at, man. I'm hoping, again, to create some platforms and just behind the scenes, helping young people, empowering them with this understanding. And so I'd rather do this behind the scenes than be in the march that I know, okay, after I'm done with this, there's 10, man, at the beginning of this year, man, there was record-breaking numbers of how many people were shot in Portland. Record-breaking. Record-breaking. But yet, we ain't doing no marches against those. We're doing a march against, we creating viral things for people that don't even live here that are being affected by gun violence, and that they should. But I'm saying we got record numbers here and you ain't doing that, but you're going to do it for other people. No knock against Nipsey. No knock against Nipsey. But we elevate Nipsey to that degree, and oh man, that brother was this and this and this, which we should. But you got people right in our own state that have been putting in work and been impactful. You don't say nothing about. So when our kids in these neighborhoods go to look for somebody, guess what? They can't look for Nipsey. Nipsey don't live here.
Right.
You ain't elevating the very people that's effective in putting in the work in your own neighborhood.
Right now, right here, right 2 feet away. Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, who wants to have that real discussion and be held accountable to it?
Mm-hmm. I think that's tough. It's going to be tough either way, because we're fighting against programming from white supremacy from 500 years ago. We talk. There's a book by DJO.G.ONE talking about post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Yeah.
And so, all these different things that we're fighting against. We're fighting against ourselves. We're fighting to create an identity that works for us. We're fighting to create unity, and we're also fighting against these different systems of whiteness that are trying to hold us down. So, I don't shy away from that. I highlight that, but I also say, we have to be able to navigate within those systems. We have to be able to, because this is just our reality. Not saying it's okay. Not saying I'm not saying anything like that. I think it's horrible that one group wants to keep that social position to be able to keep other groups down. But at the same time, we're here now, and we have to do something with the time and the energy and the effort that we have with each other. And so I think that highlighting Black and brown folks and people of color that are doing it and that care about their culture and care about their community is a step towards that. I want to ask you about negotiation, because how I see negotiation, it has two facets, two main components to it. There's a relationship piece, and then there's a communication piece. And what I've learned from you a lot is that you really dialed in, and me personally, I can kind of feel that same way, that I've been able to develop that relationship piece very well, to where the communication piece just has to be tweaked here and there. But when you're trying to negotiate big deals for what you're worth, what your value is for your time and effort.
Yeah.
How have you done that?
Well, part of it is understanding the market value for whatever you do. Whether it's, I had to look up and research what is the market value from a DJ standpoint, with leadertainment, what is the market value for, doing personal and professional consulting and coaching. And once I found out what the market value is, then I had to kind of look in the mirror and say, where realistic am I really versus where I want to be, where am I today? And based on where I'm today, where does that fit in the negotiation process? And with that, once I make that decision, then I have to stand firm on it. You see, I have to stand firm on, no, this is my value, and be willing to appear to lose. So I remember a DJ, I went to a DJ conference, and there was a white guy. He was leading the conference. I was the only Black guy in the whole conference. This is important. And he was talking about, at the time, he was saying, yeah, I get paid, $1,000 a night. And he's out of LA. And I remember saying, well, man, that you in LA. So yeah, you can get $1,000 where I think the most I was getting paid probably at the highest rate in the market at the time for a night was like $300. And he was like, well, he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm DJing like you. He said, well, the difference is I said, this is how much I'm worth. You haven't.
Mm.
And he said, and I was willing. I said, but if I say that I wanted more, then there's going to be other DJs that come in and they're going to do it for cheaper. He said, let them.
Mm.
And he used an example. He said, well, if I had two Mercedes-Benz sitting right next to each other, both of them look identically alike, but one said $100 and one of them said 30 grand. Which one are you going to buy? I said, I'm going to buy the 30 grand. He said, why? The other one is cheaper. I said, because there's certain guarantees that come with that 30 grand. I'm going to think something's wrong with that $100 one. And there you go. You have to be willing to be the 30 grand one instead of, he said, if you took the 100, how many of those 100 Mercedes-Benz would it take for you to get the 130 grand? He said, so same thing with negotiation. Anybody that wants, there is a market that will pay your market value. But you're going to have to sacrifice cheapening your brand in order to tap into that network. And that's what I did as a DJ. That's what I did as a professional. I'm like, yeah, I can choose to say, okay, I'm going to do a deal that's lower than my value, but that's my choice, as opposed to,
right,
I'm just going to take this because I can't see me, or I'm embarrassed to ask what my market value is. You have to be willing, again, to sacrifice for the value of what you bring to the table. And I'm willing to do that, to say, hey, I'll let a DJ do 30 gigs to get what I do for one.
And sometimes I think, me personally, I've had to make decisions like that as well. Like, I say my price, and that's my price. You can go find somebody else. And sometimes you feel afterwards, you feel like, man, man, I probably could have lowered that, and I might have been able to get them. But sometimes it's like, when that person comes back, they're gonna be like, oh, I thought you was only da-da-da-da-da. And they tell everybody else that you're only doing it at, $300 when you're really worth $1,000. So it's like, how you position yourself is so important. How you position yourself, and also, the service that you deliver. And you talked about that. You talked about, the habits that you created that kind of set you apart. But in your negotiation process, how have you been able to balance relationship versus price?
Get in the bag. There's always a payoff, I would say, in negotiations. And so for me, I always look at, am I getting the value out of any situation, whether it's monetarily or relationship wise?
Okay.
There's so say, for example, I have some people in certain corporate positions that I have great relationships with, that when they call, I'm not going to give them my value quote. Most of the time, I'm going to say, what are you working with and what can I do for you? I got your back. But the reason I would say it in those situations is because I can get my value out of one gig for that situation, and I can be good, and I don't know if I'll get another one or how often. But because of the relationship, that relationship turns into 30 gigs, or a constant annual thing where we're always going to go to him every year. We're going to him every year. I just put it on my calendar. What's the next date? Okay. Next year. Okay. What's the next date? And there's some people that I've done business with for 20 plus years because of the one deal I did with them the right at the beginning. But again, those are the type of things that you have to really be in tune with who you
You have to have some vision too, right?
yeah.
I mean, you're seeing beyond that one deal. Can you
Exactly.
talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. And so again, if you go, it's mindset. When you approach situations, you go in with a certain mindset. If your mindset is just getting the bag, then you just lay your price out there and negotiate that and be done. A lot of times I go in situations looking for how can this turn into long-term relationship. So would I rather take maybe a little less now because it turns into multiple streams of income, or would I rather just get them right now? In some situations, I'm like, yeah, this is not a long-term situation.
Yep.
Price.
Yep.
But part of that again is going in with a certain mindset where most people are, let me get the bag, let me get the bag right now. I've done a situation. I remember someone asked me to do a show. They only had $100 for the show. I mean, I'm not even driving out of my driveway
for $100. Yeah.
Like, absolutely not. But part of the conversation, having with them and understanding the situation and like, okay, let me see what's going on here. Well, okay, I might do this for $100, but what can I get on the back end? And next thing you know, that turned into several referrals that got me 10 times as much income than that $100 investment. So that ended up being $100 investment to some other resources. So I end up doing a situation for another person that I gave them some consulting for free, when normally I would charge them a good amount for it. But that negotiation ended up with me having a marketing person on my team. so which I would have normally had to pay for. So now I got a marketing person that I can go and say, hey, I need to get this done. How do I need to approach this, and I don't have to pay them a cent.
It's like it all comes back to you. You know what I mean? It's like you, like, hey, you give it out, and you know, you look at, you know, different religious philosophies, you look at different cultural philosophies, but I really see that principle of sowing, of reaping and sowing seems to be consistent.
Man,
and giving back, it comes back to you. Might not come back in the way that you want, but this universe that we live in operates in those laws.
Yeah.
And so, you know, just giving of yourself, giving of your time, of your effort, your energy is imperative to creating success. And it can't just stop with you. It has to. Our hands have to be open.
With that said, going back to what you have to steer. You still have to come from a place of knowing your value, and then you have the control to how you want to negotiate under or whatever. But I think sometimes people go and say, okay, I'll just do this for free, or I'll do it less, because they don't feel like they deserve to ask for what their value is. And so there's a difference, you know, between, oh, I got to do this because if I don't, you know, versus, no, here's my value, and it's communicated very clearly, but I am willing to work with these different variables.
One comes from scarcity, and then the other comes from confidence. It's like, you know, if I do this, even if I didn't do this, I'd be okay.
Right.
If I do this, you know, I understand the benefits. I can see long term, and I'm willing to make those tough decisions. And even if it doesn't, I feel confident because it aligned with my value system. You talked a lot about that. But within negotiation, I want to ask one more question, because a lot of my viewers are professionals of color. They're high performing professionals of color, and they have to navigate whiteness as well. You know, especially being in the Northwest. And I'm not just, and when I say whiteness, I don't mean in ethnicity. I mean a social position. And this social position of whiteness, and how I describe it, is that of those non-melanated folks
Right.
or Caucasian people that uphold the systems of white supremacy. So you can be a Caucasian person, in my opinion, and not be white, in the sense that you don't uphold the system of white supremacy, either consciously or subconsciously. So when I'm saying systems of whiteness, that's what I mean. And so how have you navigated systems of whiteness and white supremacy, negotiated? How have you been able to be effective within these systems, despite whatever power structures might have affected the outcome?
Yeah. Again, it goes back to how I see myself. It goes back to how I see myself, and it's always a challenge. You know, particularly if you've worked hard on your craft to get in a particular market value bracket, and then you see situations just because you don't fit this description,
Mm-hmm.
uh, then you know you get overlooked, or you don't get
Or underpaid, right?
or underpaid. You don't get considered. Um, and what I've learned, man, is I only want what's mine. I only want what belongs to me. I don't want somebody to hand me something. I want to be confident that I've earned a position or earned the opportunity, as opposed to feeling like, oh, let me throw a crumb to him, you know,
Mm.
type of thing, or let him beg for it. And it has nothing to do really with pride. It has to do with just owning my value. And I deal with it even at the level I'm at right now. I still deal with that in certain arenas, but I have to always again remind myself, which comes back to, what are you feeding yourself daily? Feeding yourself doubt and some of those things daily. When those circumstances come, it's gonna eat you up. So I am very intentional about what I feed myself mentally, whether it's through, you know, what I do spiritually, prayer, reading the Bible, or reading books that give me the information I would say to equip me, that arms me to be able to negotiate. Where in a lot of times I'll negotiate in a way that if I'm running into one of those individuals or situations where they're trying to, you know, play me down, then I have enough information where it's going to be clear that that's what they're doing, as
You
opposed
have
to,
to recognize it first.
yeah, exactly. And so, so I walk very confident in what my ability is, and I only worry about people in business that value me. Those that don't value me, that I don't do business with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so, and that's what I focus on. I notice the times where if I do focus on the other, then it takes a certain energy away from me. It takes a certain confidence, chips away at your confidence.
Mm.
You know, and so, and it won't be have anything to do with what's happening externally. It has to do with how I've internalized what has happened. And so we have to make sure we control our own narrative.
Mm.
Like, for example, like people, you know, obviously I DJ for the Portland Trailblazers, and I'm very blessed to be able to do that for 12 years, 12 seasons, and have built great relationships. And most people think that I work for the NBA, like I work for them, and I don't. I'm in partnership with the NBA,
You contract. Yeah.
contracted with the
Yeah.
NBA. I control my narrative.
Mm-hmm.
I control my narrative. Now they can say, oh, they don't want to partner with me anymore. They have that control, but that has nothing to do with what my value is. That has everything to do with they might be going in another direction,
Mm-hmm.
which every company has the ability to do. In my negotiations with that contract, wasn't a begging. of, hey, please, please, can you, oh, it was never that. It was one, a relationship that I established years with Larry Miller when he was with Brand Jordan, when he made his transition to the Blazers becoming the president. I was bold enough to ask him, hey, why doesn't the Blazers have a DJ? He is the president of an NBA franchise. Like, the Blazers need a DJ. He said, okay, well, let's make it happen. Now, what if I didn't ask the question?
Man.
What if I inquire? I had to have a certain confidence in my ability and my relationship.
Yeah.
To be able to say that. Now, once I was given the platform, I had to be also back it up. I had to back it up. So when Larry transitioned out of that, then by that time I had already established other relationships within the organization. And, you know, again, with how I carry myself, or, you know, in the arena, out of the arena, the Blazers are not worried about, you know, whether or not they're going to see me in some controversial, you know, stuff out in the streets. But again, let's say if they decided, you know, they wanted to go in a different direction, I no longer have that situation. Does that make me less valuable now as a person, as a DJ?
Not at all.
Not in my mind. Now, some other people are like, ooh, he's not in it. But my value is not dictated based on a title that I have. Every moment. We have to get away from that. That's those systems. Again, oh, well, if they have this, then they're more important. You know, you look on Instagram. Look at Instagram. If you got a blue check, ooh, he's important. You can be important without the blue check. But someone has said, if you got that, then you're verified. And people are losing their mind based off of that. We believe in that. And I'm saying we got to take those narratives back and say, no, what is your value? Tell the truth. If you're not up to par, guess what? Get your game right. Get around some people that can iron sharpen iron. Get around some people that can help you step up your game. Be willing to tell the truth about yourself. Be willing to grow. Be willing to ask the questions. Be willing to be wrong. Be willing to look goofy because you asking questions that might make sense to other people but doesn't make sense to you. You know? And be willing to pay for it. Be willing to come to the table with something to offer just as much as you're willing to come to the table to take.
What's next for David, man? What's next for David Jackson?
Ooh, right now, man, I got so many irons in the pot right now. I'm just really kind of continue to build on some of the things I've kind of established in Portland. I know with the hip hop week that has gotten proclamated, kind of building on that and kind of strengthening and trying to get the hip hop community as a collective together and starting to work and network with each other. So I've been working on that with some of the meeting of the minds I've been having with them, doing workshops surrounding just educating, you know, the young artists and musicians in Portland on the importance of not only their value, but the value in networking and working with each other if they want to get this region established as an entity that should be recognized by the industry. So you got that piece. Really, man, this leadertainment thing, man, that I'm doing, man, is really kind of the next level for me because, you know, I've established myself as a DJ and that thing is on automatic. You know that, so it's nothing else really that I can do as a DJ that's going to, in terms of the actual DJing, that's going to elevate me more than what I've already accomplished. So now it's about leveraging what I've done in that industry to kind of launch the leadertainment part of it. So how can I now empower up and coming artists, DJs, athletes, and just people, period, to just pour out, pour into people this information that we're talking about right now.
Right.
Now
Right.
I'm in a position where now it's time for me to really intentionally pour into other people, because it does no good if I know all this knowledge and information and it doesn't get passed on to anybody. That sucks. That's not the kind of legacy I wanna leave. I want to be able to people to say that they were empowered, they were able to better their lives on various levels because of their interaction with me.
What are you learning? What are you learning about yourself right now?
I'm learning to really. This time has been really, and it's really been the last 3 years, really. But learning how to be active while being still.
You got to explain that.
So people, I would say in my position, that are creatives. I believe you're one of those people too.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to have the tendency to think 10 to 20 steps ahead of us. We want to stay ahead and what's the next thing? Okay, I got that. And in doing that, it doesn't give us a lot of space to be able to sit and enjoy accomplishments that we have accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't give us time to absorb what we've done, to be able to analyze and say, okay, what has worked, what has not worked as well, because we're on to the next thing.
Right.
And I'm in that space now where it's like, okay, how can I maximize everything that I have now before I bring on 20 other different things?
Mm.
How can I maximize everything I have right now? Okay, and once I maximize those things, then I can then go into, some other spaces or do some other things. So the temptation, the thing I'm learning about myself is I'm watching myself be tempted all the time. That, this is, and I'm happy to say, yeah, but nah. Let me just stay here. Let me just.
I remember a principle a long time ago. I think it was from 15 Laws of Growth from John Maxwell, and I remember something about pausing and reflecting and letting growth catch up to you. And so that's almost exactly what you're saying right now. It's like not going outside of yourself before you've mastered what's going on right now.
Absolutely.
Maximize what you got right now. That's great. That's great. I just got a couple more questions for you, man. And what advice would you give high performing professionals of color looking to move into the next level of their career or business? Like they want to get to that next level. What advice would you give high performers, folks that are already high performing professionals of color that are already established in some area, but they want to take it to that next level? What advice would you give them?
Other than, if they've maximized where they are.
Okay.
If assuming that they have maximized the level that they are, then again, just take an inventory of what it is that they are wanting to, what is that next level? And are they willing to become a student of whatever that level is?
Mm-hmm.
And then make it, again, it's always a choice, and then the action and the sacrifice that follow.
Mm-hmm.
I can say I want to, okay, the next level for me is to, be a rap artist. I'm a DJ, but now I want to be the rap artist. Okay, but am I willing to take the time and put the investment in and become a student of what that is? And again, having those real candid conversations with themselves. Like really, take it from the good idea and break it down into practical application every day. Am I willing to do this? And if I'm not, then guess what? It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. You see what I mean? Because again, our system is set up for us to be in the rat race. Our system is set up to, you gotta be And again, we got to take those narratives down. Even our defining success for each other. Oh, they're successful if they're this. If I don't do another gig, I considering where my life has gone through and where it's been, I am highly successful without any titles. My survival up until this point, based on mentally, spiritually, or whatever, up until this point, has put me in the stratosphere in terms of success in my life. But outside of me would say, oh, but you ain't got this yet. You ain't made these many figures yet. And then you get in that mental space of, oh, now I got to go chase it. I got to go chase it. Now, if that's really you, yeah, but don't let the external thing be your driving force. Let it be the internal part that says, you know what? Yes, I've done these things and these are great. And I'm not comfortable being complacent with where I'm at. So here's where I want to go next. And here's a practical application, and be willing to make the sacrifices and the investment to do it.
You've echoed value, knowing your value. Almost everything that we've talked about is an extension of that value. Knowing who you are, knowing what you will and won't do, and that place in that position gives you power to be able to do what you want. Man, I'm gonna ask you one more question. What are you learning about being a Black man right now?
What am I learning about being a Black man
right now with all the stuff that's going on? You read all the things.
Well, it's something that I wouldn't say is right now. It's just kind of like what I've always thought. In circumstances similar to this or whatever, or when hard times come, I feel like just as Black people, not just as a Black man, but Black people are positioned best to handle these type of situations. Mainly because if you've already been in a pressure cooker where you've had to struggle and scratch and find and work with limited resources and all that kind of stuff, when that becomes our societal norm, it's home to you. When other people are scrambling, stressing, and like, oh, what I got? It's like, okay, welcome to our world.
Yeah, this is Monday.
Right. Exactly. And so
it's another day.
Yeah, exactly. So it puts things in perspective, as a Black man. Just again, I have to always keep reminding myself of the value that I have, and not letting the external forces or whatever take rent space in my brain to tell me otherwise.
Yeah.
Key is because most of the stuff happens with our thought life, man. Is our thoughts. We start thinking a particular way, then it starts manifesting in how we feel and all that kind of stuff. So as Black men, I always tell Black men to get anchored, get around solid Black men, other Black men, get perspective, be accountable, put yourself in a position to be accountable, and be willing to grow. And we got enough of us, regardless of what, gets promoted a lot of times, we got enough solid Black men, man, in our communities, man, that we can connect with. We just got to get out of our way and our pride to be able to connect, man, with each other.
Man, so this is this has been an amazing episode, man. I appreciate you so much, man. I appreciate you taking time out. I felt like we only scratched the surface. I got to get you on the show again, man. But before I close it out, how can we support you? Where do we find you at, DJ?
Oh, well, social media, IG, I'm at DJO.G.ONE, Twitter, same thing. Facebook, The Real DJO.G.ONE. Website, DJO.G.ONE.com. And, the best way to support me is just, again, advocating, word of mouth. Um, that's the best way you support me. You see me doing stuff, whether it's from an entertainment standpoint or community standpoint, just people putting the word out about what I'm doing, and that helps me a lot further than just the financial end of it. However, I do wish, without putting my people on blast, I do wish that, particularly in this region, that our folks support Black businesses more.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't like having to tell people when they ask me about my company and how I thrive, and I have to say that probably 98% of my bookings come from people that don't look like me. And so I'm not proud of that. And I've been very intentional as it relates to me in spending money on Black business, whether it's food carts, whether it's apparel companies. I've spent money, on our people, and I haven't always got that back. And so, and whether it's me or other Black businesses, I just hope that we get better at doing that.
We have to. I mean, it's a survival thing. We have to survive, not individually, but as a culture, we have to. So, man, thank you so much, DJ, for being on the show.
Thank you.
Loved you on this show. This is so much heat that you gave us today. So much fire for relationships, value system, being Black, being a professional of color that seeks it, that moves to the highest levels. Thank you, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Anytime.
This is the People Man Talks podcast, and I'm your host, Emanuel Solomon, the People Man, and I'm out.